Ayo.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm back with another video today, and it kind of took me a while to film a video, but I finally am making one. And today is going to be a story time about the time that I almost got kidnapped. And it's not like no BS story where like someone is like, oh yeah, this man was following me and that's the story. No. I real life almost got kidnapped. So without further ado, we're just gonna get on into the video. Okay, so about 2 years ago, yeah, it was 2 years ago because I was in 8th grade. So about 2 years ago, in 8th grade, I was getting ready for school one day and I was doing my hair. Anyways, so yeah, I was doing my hair and I couldn't get it right. And at the time, the way like everyone in my family's schedule was set up, I was always the last one to leave the house. And I couldn't get my hair right. Like, it just wasn't coming out right. I couldn't do it and I was getting frustrated. So I just ended up missing the bus. And at the time, I wasn't allowed to take Ubers or anything because my mom didn't trust that. And she just didn't feel like I needed to be riding Uber. She thought it was dangerous. So I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I missed the bus, yada, yada, yada. She was like, okay, just stay home. And so I was just in my bed watching TV or whatever. And I got like hungry, but I wasn't like hungry like I wanted a meal. Like I just wanted some snacks. And I had some money on my dresser. So I was like, you know what? Let me go to the store. And there was this store right across the street from my neighborhood, and it was called Happy Mart. And I always used to go to that store like after school, but I was just like, since it's across the street, like I might as well go. What's the worst that could happen? Like, it's literally right across the street. So I got dressed, I fixed my hair a little bit, I grabbed my money, and I was out the door. So yeah, so I'm walking. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna get some snacks. My mom would never know that I left the house. It's all good in the hood. Nothing's gonna happen. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm just gonna get some snacks and I'm gonna come home and I'm gonna grub. So I walked into the store, and when I walked in, there was this man. And like the second I walked in, he looked at me, but I didn't really think nothing of it because, you know, when a door opens, usually people look to see, you know, who just opened the door or who it is that just walked in. So he looked at me, I looked at him, we made eye contact. And then, you know when you make eye contact with a stranger and you do that little awkward smile and you're just like, so I did that. And, you know, he was just staring at me like he was just, and I was just like, okay, like whatever. So I walked into the aisle, I'm looking for my snacks, yada, yada, yada. And at the time, I really wasn't that tall. I was like 5 foot, either 4'11" or 5 foot. This was 8th grade. I'm 5'2" now, but that doesn't really matter. So I was either 4'11" or 5 foot. So I really wasn't that tall. And like the way the aisles was set up, the little rack where like all the chips and stuff was stored, it was taller than me. But the type of rack that it was, you could kind of see through it. So I had to go get some water because my AC is blasting right now and my throat feels mad dry. But anyways, like I was saying, so the way that the rack was set up, I could kind of see through it. And I was looking, and the man, he was just staring at me, like trying to see what I was doing. So I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. Like, why is he staring at me, you know? So I'm getting my snacks, yada, yada. So I go up to the cash register, and, you know, I'm trying to buy my stuff, just trying to be in and out. And he was standing directly next to the cash register. He was just standing there, like standing, looking around, not doing nothing. And he didn't have anything to buy. Like, he didn't even have a bag or nothing in his hand. And it didn't look like he was waiting on somebody. Like, he was just standing there. He was just, oh, my cat. Say hi, Tootie. Anyways, she not trying to talk. So, yeah. It didn't look like he was waiting on nobody or nothing. He was just standing there looking mad suspicious. So in my head, I'm like, yo, I don't know what's up with this man, but he got to skedaddle like now, because you're making me kind of nervous, like, because you're just standing there not doing anything. But why? Like, you know? So I continue to purchase my items, and he eventually leaves the store. So I'm like, phew. And, you know, he gets in his car. He was waiting in his car a little bit, but then he pulled out, and I remember he made a left turn. So I was like, all right, I'm good. I'm safe. I'm good. Like, I don't got to worry about nothing or whatever. And so I leave the store. You know, I walk. And I remember coming across two people. There was this lady that was jogging, and this other man, he was a construction worker, and he was working on the road. And I really wanted to ask them for help, but at the time, the man, he wasn't even anywhere in my presence, at least not that I knew of. So I couldn't really ask for help, because if they would have been like, well, what do you need help with? And I would have just sat there like, so I would have been looking crazy, because what do you need help with? A man that nobody could even see. So I'm walking, I walk home. You know, I cross the street, I'm walking home, and I saw a man that was walking his dog. I could have talked to him too, but like I said before, what was I gonna ask help for? Like, nobody was around. So I'm walking, yada yada. And I was walking in like the middle of the street, because it was just a big parking lot. So like, it was a complex, so it was just big parking lot. Like, I didn't feel the need to like walk on the sides or nothing. I would have just moved out the way if there was a car. So I'm walking, and I hear a car behind me. So I'm like, okay, let me move out the way. And I turned around, and it was his car.
Hell no, to the no.
So I'm like, bro, this right here is going to be the end for me. So I'm walking, and I was like kind of picking up the pace a little bit, but I didn't pick up the pace too much to where it looked like I was being suspicious. So I'm picking up the pace, and I'm in my head, I'm like, yo, Samira, like, this just might be the end for you, baby girl, because this man is sitting here following you home. Like, what are you gonna do? So, and I had my key on a lanyard that I wore around my neck. So I was holding on to my key, and I had it in between my hand, just in case I had to do a little something real quick. So, you know, I'm still talking in my head. I'm like trying to strategize in my head before he does something, because I'm like, yo, if I go out today, I'm gonna go out hard, because you're not about to just do me like that, you know? So he rolls down his window. You know, he pulls up right beside me. I'm like, holy, I did not mean to cuss. So I'm like, holy moly, like, I'm finna get snatched up. So he rolls down his window. He's like, how old are you? And I was like, and I kind of like laughed. I was like, haha, not old enough. And, you know, I was trying to be polite and nice, because I didn't want to like be rude and then make this strange man mad. And then who knows, he could have put out a gun and just bop, and I would have been done, laid out on the concrete. You know what I'm saying? So I was trying to be nice or whatever. And he was like, what's your name? I'm pretty sure I didn't say my real name, because that would be dumb, you know. But I don't remember what name I said. I said some name. And so, you know, I kept walking. So then he opens his car door. I'm looking like, what do you have going on? Because at this point, you're doing too much. Like, why are you opening your door? So he opens his door, and he's like, get in the car. And I'm like, what? He's like, get in the car. I'm like, no, like, you're, So basically, I did the motherfucking dash. When I tell you, I felt like Usain Bolt, baby. I was doing the dash. Like, I never ran so fast in my life. So I ran. And I ran all the way upstairs to my apartment. And so when I tell you, I was struggling to unlock my door. Like, I was struggling so hard. Like, my hands were shaking. The key was fumbling, dropping all over the place. I'm like, this is not the time. This is not the time for the key to be doing whatever it's doing. Like, I need to get in now. And I kept looking behind me, and his car was pulling up into my section of the complex. So I'm like, damn, bro, like, I need to hurry up. So I unlocked the door, and I locked the door, put the chain on, and then we had these chairs, and there was like a space, and the doorknob could like fit in the space. So I put the chair against the door, and then I closed the curtains, and I locked myself in my room, and I locked my bathroom door, because my room and my bathroom, they was connected. So I locked both of those doors. And then, so at the time, I didn't have a phone on me because someone stole my phone. So I had my iPad, and I'm in my room. Mind you, I grabbed the knife before I went in my room because I wasn't about to play none of that. So I'm in my room. I'm like crying, breathing mad hard, mad discombobulated. I'm like, yo, what do I do? So I grab my iPad. I'm like, Siri, call 911. And she's just like, I can't do that. I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like, saying something like, sorry, I couldn't understand that. I couldn't quite catch that. So I keep telling her, I'm like, Siri, call 911. Like, I need you to call the police. And usually, if you have like an Apple product, like, you know, if you say any type of random number to Siri, she'll call 911. Or if you be like, call 911, she'll call 911. And I always used to play on my iPad and like tell Siri random numbers, and she would be calling 911. But she decided the one time that I need her to call 911 that she wasn't going to do it. So I'm like, this must be a curse. Like, this is karma. I don't know what I did wrong, but this is karma, because why is she not calling 911 and I need her? Like, baby, I'm about to die. Somebody's about to snatch me up. Like, what are you saying? So I'm telling her, I'm like, Siri, call 911, call 911. And she's not trying to do it. So I'm like, okay. So then I grab my iPad. I start FaceTiming people. I FaceTime my best friend. I FaceTime my friend Ivana, I think. Maybe. I don't know. But I FaceTime a couple people. And I'm pretty sure I FaceTime my other friend. But yeah, I was FaceTiming people left and right. But obviously they weren't picking up because they were in class in school getting their education. So why were they going to answer the phone? But then I texted my one friend, and I texted her specifically because I knew exactly what class she was in at the time, because we had a class together. It was our English class. It was our third period. And like, you know, I looked at the time. I'm like, okay, so she's in our third period now. And so I texted her because she would always be on her phone. Every time we were in class, it never failed. So she was always on her phone. So I texted her. Her name is Kaya, by the way. I texted her. I'm like, Kaya, oh my God. Like, you know, I told her the whole, the situation. I gave her the rundown, yada, yada, yada. And she's just like, oh my God, are you okay? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I'm not okay. Like, you need to call somebody. Somebody needs to call 911 immediately. And I'm looking out the window and stuff. Like, I came out my room every so often and looked out the window. And the man, he was like sitting outside of my apartment. And he wasn't even in his car. He was just like standing outside his car, standing around. I'm like, yikes, you know, big yikes. So I'm telling Kaya what's going on. She's like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. So she gets the teacher, and the teacher gets the principal, and they called my mom and my stepdad, but they didn't answer first at the time because they was at work, so they didn't answer. And usually when they get calls from my school, like, they just ignore it because it's usually like a spam message. And so, you know, they didn't pick up the first time. Then they picked up the second time, and they told my mom, and they called the police. So my mom comes rushing, my stepdad comes rushing, you know, whole gang comes rolling in, police come rushing. So my mom, she's like, oh my God, are you okay? Yada, yada, yada. I'm like, girl, I'm fine. Whole time I'm scared. And so the police are asking me like, okay, tell us what happened, blah, blah, blah. And it was some two white men. I'm not very fond of the police, you know. They're not really my favorite group of people. Not saying that there are not good police officers out there that do their job, but as a black person, I do not trust the police whatsoever, but that's a whole other topic. Anyways, so I'm telling the police what was going on, and you know, I started crying a little bit because I was scared. Like, that was the scariest thing that has ever happened to me. I was so scared. I literally thought that I was about to be in the back of somebody's trunk, probably getting pimped out somewhere. Who knows? Who knows? But all I know is that I was not trying to get snatched up, and I was scared. So I'm telling them, and they're just looking at me like, yeah, okay. And I know they didn't believe me, or they just wasn't trying to hear me. But let me tell y'all something. It was very real. I was really scared. Like, I was shook beyond words. So, you know, I'm telling them what happened. They're just not trying to hear me. They're like, okay, well, can you describe him? And I remember exactly what that man was wearing. He was wearing this big, baggy red t-shirt and these baggy, dark denim jeans and these fake Jordan flights. And they had some red on them and some gray and white. And I know he thought he was styling and profiling with that outfit, but baby, let me tell you something. You definitely wasn't. That is not drip. Take that off right now. But whatever. So yeah, I knew exactly what he was wearing, and he had a low cut. He was ugly. He had like this boulder head. And yeah. So, you know, I described him, whatever. He had this black car. It was old and dingy. I don't even remember what type of car it was. But it was old and dingy. And yeah. So they were like, okay, we're going to file a police report. And, you know, we'll get back to you after that. Yada, yada, yada. They never got back to us. But I knew that they wasn't, because based off of their reaction when I was telling them what happened, they just wasn't trying to hear me. So I was like, okay, whatever. And I wasn't really sweating it because, I mean, I wasn't physically harmed or anything. I was just really scared. So I didn't pay too much attention to how the police was feeling about the situation. I was just happy to know that I was, you know, safe and sound in my house and that I didn't get kidnapped. And so, you know, my mom, she stayed home with me the rest of the day. My stepdad, he went back to work, but my mom stayed home with me the rest of the day. And, you know, she was like, you know, I was so scared, blah, 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 blah. Something could happen to you. And, you know, I was mad shook. But I was like, yo, at least I'm home, you know? So then, the following day, the next day, you know, I got ready for school, whatever. And like I said, I'm always the last person to, I was always the last person to leave the house, the way our schedules were set up at the time. So, you know, I leave to get ready to walk to the school bus, and I open my door and I see his car parked right out in front of my apartment. And I got so scared, especially because I was really familiar with the cars that was always parked and the people that lived in like my section of the neighborhood, and really just like some of the people that lived in the complex in general. That doesn't mean that I knew who everyone was that lived in the entire complex, obviously, because I don't, or I didn't. But I was really familiar with the specific people that lived in my section and the cars that would be parked in my section. And I had never seen his car before ever until that incident. So that morning, his car was parked in front of my apartment, and I was so scared. Like, when I tell you I was scared, like, I literally just wanted to run back inside and stay home, but obviously I couldn't. So I got one of my neighbors to walk with me to the school bus. And I did that for about, I want to say 3 days, because he kept having his car parked outside. And I don't know why, like, and it wasn't staying in the same spot either. Like, I would come back and it would be in like a different spot, and I was just like confused and scared, because why are you at my house? Like, what are you doing? And yeah, so I was having my neighbor walk me to the bus stop, and I was having one of my friends walk me home, because I didn't want to walk by myself. I was too scared to. And then after a while, I stopped seeing his car, and that was just like one of the most terrifying experiences I ever had. Like, I've never really come close to being kidnapped before. Like, I've had situations where like I've been followed, or thought I was being followed at least, or you know, I was just around like a suspicious figure, but never in the case where I was on the verge, of being harmed, or on the verge of being taken, or never in a situation where the suspicious person ever like spoke to me or anything. Like, it was never anything like that. So that specific situation really shook me to my core. Like, I was so scared. And from that point on, every time I saw a black car in my neighborhood, or at least a black car that was similar to his, I would like literally, my heart would drop down to my butt. Literally. Like, I would always be so scared. But even when I moved, I still kind of had that fear in the back of my head. But I got over it, at least of seeing like the black cars, because where I live now is nowhere near where I used to live, so it would just be unrealistic for me to think like that. But I do get really scared when I feel like a car is following me, only specifically at night though, or if I'm by myself and I just feel like a car is following me. I get really nervous because I don't know, after that day I just was really hyper aware of my surroundings, and at least when I'm by myself, and it just really made me scared and like put real fear in my heart of being kidnapped. You know, before then, obviously I was scared of being kidnapped. Who isn't? Because no one wants to get snatched up. But because I then had like kind of a first-hand experience of something like that, it just made me really hyper aware and really, sorry, my kitten. And really just terrified, like so terrified. But yeah, that's the story. That's basically what happened. I never experienced nothing scary like that after, but that really taught me a lesson. Like, after that I never left my house without my mom knowing, because I was not trying to mess around with nothing like that. But yeah, that's what happened. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the story time. I definitely enjoyed telling it. Like, I tell anybody who doesn't know the story already, I tell them all the time, because I don't know, now that it's already over with, it's just a really entertaining story to me. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like the video and comment and subscribe, because it would be very much appreciated. And stay tuned for my next video.
I should have put you somewhere where no one can find you. Man, she not in the sticks with nothing around.